Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn about the future tense in English. So as you probably know, there are different ways to express the future in English. And the tense you're going to use depends on the context, on the situation, because there are different situations when we use the future. So I'm going to go through the main forms of the future and explain to you when we use each form. So the first situation when we use future is when we talk about an intention. So an intention is something that you want to do in the future, that you plan to do. So the first context is your intention was decided in the past. So there is premeditation in your intention. So that is something that's a plan, a project that you made before. So let's have an example. Imagine that Peter and Mary are saving money because they decided to buy a house. Okay, so there is premeditation. They took a decision in the past, decision to buy a house, and now they are saving money. So in the future, we can say that they are going to buy a house. Okay, that's their future action. In this case, we use, as you can see here, be going to plus the infinitive. Okay, so I put the auxiliary be in the present, then going and to, then the infinitive of the verb. So they are going to buy a house is the future form of the verb to buy in an intention that was taken in the past. Okay, so of course the negative form of it would be they aren't going to buy a house. So the auxiliary be take the negation. And the question would be, are they going to buy a house, or what are they going to buy? So as usual, I swap the positions of the auxiliary and the subject. Now a small remark before we go on. You probably heard the word gonna. Gonna is spoken English. It's an informal way of saying going to. So when I say they're gonna buy a house, I say the same thing as they are going to buy a house, but in an informal spoken way. Okay, so I'm gonna, you gonna is the same as I'm going to, you going to, etc. So first situation, an intention that was taken in the past, premeditation. And the second, of course, is an intention without premeditation. So something that you decide at the moment. When you speak, you make the decision. Let's take the example first. The phone is ringing in the present. Now there is a telephone in the room and it's ringing. And someone decides to answer the phone, but they decide now because they didn't know that the phone was going to ring. So they just say, I will answer it. I'll answer it. Okay, so here the decision is taken exactly at the moment. So we use will instead of going to. Will plus infinitive. Now, a small remark here. Will is an auxiliary. So it means, as we saw, followed by an infinitive without to, and it also means that there is no s in the third person singular. So I will, you will, he will, she will, we will, you will, they will. Okay, the same form for all the persons. As you can see here, the double L, apostrophe double L is the short form of will. So I'll answer it. It's the same as I will answer it. So since will is an auxiliary, you can deduce that the negative form will be I will not answer it. Or in the shorter way, I won't answer it. Okay, the auxiliary always take the negation. And the question will be clearly, will you answer it? So again, I swapped auxiliary and subject. Now the third situation when we talk about intentions are arrangements. So something that you arranged to do in the future. So it is sure to happen. It is sure, sorry, to happen because it was planned in the past, and it was planned with another person. So let's take a look at the example. Mary is getting ready to go out. Okay. So imagine she's in the bathroom, she's getting dressed and doing her hair or whatever. Clearly she's going to go out tonight. Okay, why? Because she's seeing her boyfriend tonight. So she made an arrangement with her boyfriend to meet, and her boyfriend also knows about the arrangement. So that's why we use she is seeing, which is, as you probably recognized, a present continuous. So it's present continuous, but it doesn't express something which is happening now. It expresses a future arrangement. It's very similar to the first situation, okay, the intention, but here you imply that there is an arrangement between several people. So you could say she isn't seeing her boyfriend tonight, and is she seeing her boyfriend tonight, or who is she seeing? So that was it for the intentions. So you need to differentiate the intentions with premeditation, be going to, intentions without premeditation, will, and future arrangements, present continuous. Now you can express future, you can use the future to express something else, something different from an intention. And the other great big situation is for predictions. So when you predict the future, and here we need to distinguish two situations. The first one is the neutral prediction, something which has no implication. So we use will plus infinitive again. So I think Galatasaray will be European champion. Just my opinion. Okay, I make a prediction about the future. Now this is most of the predictions are used with will. Now there is a special case when you make a sure predictions, and the prediction is sure because it's based on observable facts, something that you can see or hear or whatever now. And in this case we use be going to plus the infinitive. So for example, look at the sky, it's going to rain. Now how do I know that it's going to rain? Because I can see the sky now, and the sky is full of clouds, gray, black, etc. So this can lead to the deduction that it's going to rain, I'm sure, because I can see it now. So in this case I don't use will, but be going to. Another example, work more, you're going to fail your exams. Again, I know that you are going to fail your exams because I can see now that you are not working enough. So I make a sure predictions, and that's why I use be going to. Now let's see about a few special cases when we use future when I talk about timetables. So timetables are things on which you have no influence. So when you talk about something that is part of a timetable, we know that it is sure to happen. Okay, because nobody decides it, it's the timetable that decides. And in this case we use present simple with a future meaning. For example, my train leaves at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is in the future. You use a present simple because it's part of a timetable. You don't decide yourself when the train leaves. Okay, it's the railway company that decides, and they put a timetable. They wrote a timetable about it, so we can use present simple here. And do we have English tomorrow? Again, you don't decide if you have English or not, and you know for sure if you have English or not because it's part of your timetable. So in this case you use present simple, but it has a future meaning. Now another way to express future is to offer something or to ask for a service. In this case, we use will. For example, I have a car, I'll drive you to the station. Okay, I offer you to drive you to the station. I offer you a service, so I use will. You can also ask for a service, you can also request a service. In this case, you use also will. My bag is heavy, will you carry it for me? Please, actually please would be quite appropriate here. Will you carry it for me? So it's a request. I request a service. In this case, I use will. Now, the last situation I want to discuss with you is promises. When you promise something, you clearly talk about the future, okay, because the promise always is related to something that is going to happen in the future. In this case, again, I use will. For examples, I will always be there for you. It's clearly a promise. And promise me you won't go. So again, I imply a promise in here. So I use will. Well, that is the end. These are the main situations when we use the future tense in English and the different ways to express it. So be careful, think about the context, and that will give you the answer as to which tense to use. Now, if you have any questions, of course, you ask me in class. I thank you for your attention. Goodbye.